probably more likely, I can give better assets, would be Brooklyn. So let's talk about a Brooklyn trade.
Yeah. So I mean, we have it broken down into two separate trades. We each put
Yep.
together a trade, seeing kind of different elements to what we think might happen here. I'm going to present my trade first. So personally, I think Houston, if they do trade Harden, there was a lot of talk about if he goes to Brooklyn, they want a huge haul, and that's just really what it came down to. We have seen some other big hauls recently, but I think Houston wants it in a different way in the sense that I think they kind of still want to compete. Like they went out, they got Christian Wood, and they did that obviously in the sense that we added a good element to our team, and he went there thinking he was going to get to compete. They added Cousins again, likely with that same element and hope we're going to get to compete. This guy's going to get minutes for us.
All two, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah, like we said, he got him for Harden to compete. So their goal this year with the new GM was to compete. So
Yeah.
I think even if they might get better or they might get worse maybe this year, let's say, I don't think they're going to try to go down a lot. So I have a trade that's very player oriented opposed to pick oriented,
Okay.
like some trades we've seen before. So personally,
Sure.
I have actually five players going in exchange to
Woo!
Houston,
Pause.
two going back to Brooklyn. Maybe
Okay.
again, we're not starting the season. Brooklyn, they could do whatever they want, or Houston could do whatever they want with their roster with all these players in terms of waiving guys. It's going to make them super deep. So I have so first we have Spencer Dinwiddie going to
Okay.
Houston. Obviously, going to be a great asset if Wall gets hurt, gets to be the starter. If not, he probably plays some good six-man minutes. We have Caris Levert, obviously going to, like they said, they want
Start
to
a shooting guard, put up 20 points.
exactly. They like they said, they need a guy. They still get a guy who could be a borderline all-star, at least good player, keep them in contention. Taurean Prince, just from mainly the salary, still a good player, but
Yep.
he like at the end of the day, for this trade to work, they need to trade DeAndre Jordan or Taurean Prince. And I don't think
Yeah, I
they're going
see
to trade.
Prince is gonna go.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to trade DeAndre Jordan. We
Yeah.
spoke about it before, where you said Kyrie said that they need a fourth All-Star next to DeAndre, KD, and himself. They're not trying to. The players there don't want DeAndre to leave. So, like you said to us personally,
No, they like him.
exactly. So he'll probably stay. And with that being said, I actually have Jarrett Allen going to the Houston Rockets. And
Oh, that's Allen's a future potential future All Star.
yeah,
He
I
was
mean,
outplaying Jordan last year.
yeah, definitely. And the thing for it is at first it was iffy, but when I look at him, I could see him actually being the centerpiece of this trade. Where we look back in 10 years and we're like, that's the guy the James Harden trade was centered around. It's actually going to be Jared Allen. I could really see that. With that
That's
being
hard to
said,
say. Dinwiddie and Levert averaged 20 points per game.
he did, but that's again, that's
Both of them.
almost yeah. But Allen's going to do a bit more overall, I think, versus these guys are more so just going to be almost like a Kevin Martin, where like they could put the ball in the net, but they're not going to be. We're not going to remember them in 30 years as we're going to remember maybe, like you said, Jared Allen is going to make All-Star games likely.
He's
Um,
still very young, but so we got five guys coming out of uh, Brooklyn. Who's coming out of Houston? Is it just Harden?
well, I also had I also had Rodionis Kurucs going to Houston. I
Oh
think
yeah, I forgot about that. I forgot
yes,
about Kurucs. Okay,
it's just a
can't
random.
forget about Kurucs.
I think it's just another guy. It's just going to be a random ad. And like we saw with the win lives ad calculator, if you actually add him in, it actually brings Houston above a win versus you take him out, it actually makes them negative a win. So I think they could actually find some good use for Krooks. I think he fits in there pretty decently versus with their spread out style, especially
Sure.
going to the other team with who I think they're going to trade. Obviously, we're going to have James Harden going to Brooklyn here. And then as well, I actually think they're going to throw PJ Tucker. Main reason for that
Okay.
is even though Houston, I think, still wants to compete, Brooklyn's obviously the contender here. And I think PJ Tucker not only deserves, but he's established himself around the league as a guy who gets to play with good players. If he was in Houston for a reason, everyone there, they knew what he could do offensively aside. They're like, you know what we need? We need a great defender, hard nose, gets in there, takes some bumps and bruises for us, helps us on off nights that we need it. And it's going to be the same in Brooklyn. He's obviously not going to play starter minutes, or who even knows? Maybe some magical way they'll find a way to use him a lot. But at the end of the day, if
He'll
he's
probably
playing
come close.
yeah, like if he's even playing 23-ish minutes a game, he's going to be a huge impact player for them. Obviously, with them between Joe Harris, Durant, and whoever, they will have Jordan still at center. They do have a young kid at center as well, I believe. I would say Nixon or Nixton, who they took in the second round
Yeah.
last year. So like they still have guys at center, but I mean they could use Tucker center sometimes if they want. So they could use him between those three
Oh,
positions.
oh,
Ultimately,
Tucker at center.
I mean, I'm not a fan of it, but like in terms of just if they need a guy, if they need a guy who could do a lot, that's why I think Tucker kind of fits there. Yeah, so I think ultimately it's going to be that 5 for 2. In terms of picks, definitely it's going to be the first round pick this year. I know you can't trade the 2 picks in a row, but Brooklyn, I believe the way they traded it, they get to avoid that rule, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain that they traded the pick on the draft day last year with the intention of having the trade go into effect after the pick was taken. So
Right.
that way they didn't actually trade away the first round pick last year.
Right. So with that being said, first round pick this year definitely goes to Houston because I have less picks than usual in mine compared to other trades. I actually have it unprotected. Same
Okay.
same thing. I think next year they're going to do a pick swap. I actually think next 2 years they're going to do a pick swap, and then I think it'll also be a 2024 first, and then I think it'll kind of just that'll be the end of it. So ultimately, 2 first round picks will go both unprotected, and then I think 2 pick swaps between 2022 and 2023 as well.
That's actually a lot of picks considering the amount of players that are going.
It is, but when it's the swaps, like Brooklyn knows for at least 3 years with Harden, Durant, and Kyrie that should at least be that's at the minimum they're gonna get. So I think they're comfortable at least giving the 3, and then the one extra is like they have to give at least 2 first round picks, obviously at minimum.
Yeah.
So that's kind of just where it comes down to. Yeah, it is a huge haul. It's not something where personally me as a general manager I would do, but I like if they said they want him, this is what they have to do to get him.
Yeah, well, like for me, the biggest thing that you mentioned there was that unprotected first this year. I know that they're getting a whole bunch of good players with, even if Wall and Cousins don't play, they're still probably going to be a playoff team. But that could potentially go into a higher level if they do end up start trading off more of their more of their players to try to get more into a rebuild if Wall and Cousins do get hurt again and they aren't actually competing. But with that being said, that's a lot. Allen, Prince, Dinwiddie, Kurucs. Can't forget about Kurucs.
Can't forget about Kirks.
Levert, like right there, you're looking at between Levert, Dinwiddie, and Allen, you're looking at easily 55 points per game or 50 points per game. Prince probably brings in another 10 to 15. That's whenever you add them into the core that Houston already has, that makes Houston competitive.
It does.
That would actually keep them in competition for the next couple of years. And to be honest, that's somehow Houston always does this. They've
Yeah,
stayed competitive for a long time. This is saying that Wall comes back and he's at least 80% of the play.
yeah. And I mean, like you
We'll
said,
see.
imagine that they do have a team like this, and maybe they do get a super high pick this year magically, and then they have all these guys with this deep team. They get a lottery pick, and then they still have, like you said, an unprotected pick from Brooklyn. Ultimately, though, like yeah, it is a lot, but Brooklyn has a lot of pieces on the team already too. They're going to lose guys, but they went out and got Shamit, confident that if I guess Levert leaves, and they do have Harden at shooting guard, that guess what? They have a backup shooting guard in Shamit. And then I need a backup point guard getting rid of Dinwiddie. They really like Brown a lot too. So I think they're confident running him backup point guard. So I like if they're going all in and they really want him, again, this is what they got to do.
I can definitely see that. It's a lot of moving parts. It does keep Brooklyn a little bit weaker at the depth, like you said.
And then
I actually
with Allen too, I mean, ultimately he gets paid next year, and you can't have DeAndre Jordan and him.
Yeah.
So unless Jordan's in this trade, like you got to get rid of one of them because otherwise you're likely going to lose Allen for nothing next year. So like
Allen's a much better player than Jordan,
absolutely,
potential wise, this year wise, overall wise, yes. But like you said, he's gonna have to get paid next year. They can go over salary to a certain extent, but do they really want to be paying that much into luxury? A team like Golden State right now, they're really paying for that right now. They're in luxury tax hardcore. I think that picking up Oubre's $15 million contract and then costing them about $55 million. So that's something that definitely has to be a key to watch out for.
definitely.
I think that's just too many moving parts. I'm more of a simpler man. Simple trades.